Make sure you go to ashkicking.com and cop the new special edition DBN scented candle.
This is Bobby, and you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So Errol Spence, he did an interview with Sway from Sway in the Morning, and Errol Spence said something that was very informative, to me at least. I mean, obviously, I'm sure some people knew about this already. I didn't know about it. So once again, before I get into the news, I want to give shots out again to Sway in the Morning. I really appreciate the fact that Sway, he's giving these fighters on a coincidental list the credit that they deserve. He's giving them the stage that they deserve, giving them the exposure that they deserve, because once again, fighters on a coincidental list, they don't always get the type of credit they deserve in the sport of boxing. So these fighters, they need a lot more exposure in the sport of boxing, and people like Sway in the Morning, he's giving them the credit that they deserve. I just said it in my last video, and I'm going to continue to say this, because people need to know what time it is if they don't already know. Errol Spence, an American fighter, went all the way over to England to fight the champion, and the biggest American media outlet for boxing, ESPN, or sports media outlet, they did not go over there to cover the American fighting against Kell Brook. But that same outlet, ESPN, and Dan Raphael, who works for ESPN, they did go out there to England to cover Golovkin versus Kell Brook. And these are the type of double standards that I'm always exposing and talking about when it comes to the sport of boxing. But I went to England with my own money and I covered Errol Spence. You see, Sway in the Morning, he put this man on his show. So this is what I'm talking about when I say we need to give these fighters that pour their blood, sweat, and tears into the sport, we need to give them the credit that they deserve. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into what Sway asked Errol Spence and what Errol Spence actually said in response. Sway basically asked Errol if he thought he could knock out Keith Thurman. And Errol Spence, he said, well, Keith Thurman, he's been knocked out as an amateur. He was knocked out in the amateurs. He was knocked down as an amateur. So, yeah, I believe I can knock him out. This is pretty much what Errol Spence said. I thought that was really informative to hear that Keith Thurman, now, I mean, I know there's a lot of fighters that have been knocked out as an amateur, but I just wouldn't have expected someone like Keith Thurman to have been knocked out before. So that's a pretty interesting thing to hear right there. Yeah, when you think about the fact that, yeah, Keith Thurman was knocked out, according to Errol Spence, with headgear, obviously and clearly, Errol Spence could knock him out. And clearly, Keith Thurman, he could knock out Errol Spence. I don't think that would happen. I think it would be Errol Spence knocking out Keith Thurman. Me personally, anything can happen. But once again, that's really informative news, man. And I really look forward to this fight coming to fruition, because it's going to be a big one. I mean, this is the closest thing to Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Hearns, Duran, etc., all of those fights. This is the closest thing to those fights, Errol Spence versus Keith Thurman. Two undefeated welterweight champions with power, talent, and determination to be the best. That's going to be a great fight. That's going to be a great fight. So we'll see how long it takes for that fight to go down. But that's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.